Hello and welcome to another edition of Discover Mercer County Business. I'm your host, Rod Wilt, and I'm the Executive Director of Penn-Northwest Development Corporation. We are Mercer County, Pennsylvania's certified economic development organization. Our motto is Make It in Mercer County, and our role is to create low-cost financing solutions for recruiting, retaining, and growing jobs and business opportunities in every corner of our county. The sole purpose of this program is to showcase people and organizations that are making it happen here. We interview them to find out why they've chosen Mercer County, Pennsylvania as a great place to live, work, and play. We're producing this show in conjunction with Teal College students, faculty, and staff, and we're coming to you from the state-of-the-art TV and radio studios in the James Pettis Communications Center on Teal's campus in Greenville. If you'd like to connect with our improvement movement team to see how you can make it in Mercer County, please visit our website at penn-northwest.com or give us a call at 724-662-3705. You can also find us on YouTube by searching Penn-Northwest Development Corp. Or connect with us on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. We hope you enjoy this edition of Discover Mercer County Business. And today we welcome to our program Mr. Doug Anderson. Doug is the president of Anderson Coach and Travel, a long time business established in Greenville, PA, northern Mercer County. Doug, thanks for being on our show. Tell us a little bit about Anderson Coach and Travel. You got such an interesting history with your family, and some of it many people may know. Most of it, I bet they don't.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Rod.
Sure.
I'm third generation in the bus business. My father and mother started the business down in New Wilmington and started transporting students back and forth to a one-room schoolhouse, my dad did. And on the very first day that he arrived at school to deliver those children, he went in to check and see, as all good bus drivers would do, to find out when those kids were going to get out for the day.
Now, what year would this have been?
1937.
Oh, my.
We're celebrating our 84th anniversary this year.
Oh, that's great.
So he claimed that he saw the prettiest ankle that he'd ever seen in his life. 3 years later, it became that lady, Dorothy Elder, became his wife, and many years later she became my mother. So that's how the love story actually got started on my dad's very first bus trip.
Wow.
And so we've been in the school bus contract business ever since that happenstance meeting down in New Wilmington, Pennsylvania. So we basically longtime Mercer County residents and have been deep-rooted here. In 1948, we moved from the southern part of Mercer County. I wasn't there, but the need to service the buses in the Greenville area, because we had school contracts with, which at that point in time was West Salem Township, later became Reynolds School District. And then subsequently we've had the opportunity to serve not only Reynolds, but Jamestown, Greenville, and the Conneaut School District up in Crawford County. So, but in 1948, my dad bought his very first motor coach, which was a GMC coach, brand new, $13,000.
Wow.
So things have evolved a little bit since then. I fondly remember as I was growing up, your father drove school bus for us.
I was going to mention that. So picture this. Guy comes up here from Pittsburgh to go to Teal College. He's got to be, because he took a year off or so after high school, he's got to be a 20-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And he walks from the campus out to the garage, and I think he might have had another longtime Mercer County resident, Jim Biddle, with him.
He did.
Or maybe Jim came a year later, but a 20-year-old guy walks in and says, I need a job driving the bus. And that's not the craziest part. The craziest part is your dad hired him.
Well, he obviously recognized some good quality individuals in both your dad as well as in Jim Biddle. And I think they worked their way through Teal College as that being their mainstay employment.
Yeah, I think your dad hired my dad because my grandfather was in the trucking business. So from the time my dad had a license, he was driving a decent-sized truck hauling produce. So yeah. I think as long as he knew that he could work the clutch with his left hand and the the throttle with the right and shift gears that he might have had a job. But
Yeah, it was a little bit different work environment then. It probably meant that he had to drive clear down to Crash's Auto Wrecking and turn around and not miss a gear. And he was probably qualified to
was that the
become a
driver
school bus
test?
driver. Of course, there were
Love
no redway lights. There were,
Yeah.
there was none of the safety precautions and the safety items that a school bus has now back then.
it. Yeah,
But anyhow,
right.
So,
So we're going to get into a lot of stuff today. A
Yeah.
lot of stuff. We're going to, of course, the business has just been severely impacted by COVID. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. But I want to pick up with that first motor coach. So was that set up to do tours? Was that tell me when the light bulb went off in your dad's
Well,
head to go from buses to coaches?
Dad very early on discovered when he was in the school bus business, and he bought his very first school bus in 1940, that it sat on the weekends. So he started doing one-day excursions down to Pittsburgh, taking the rural farm people and all over Mercer County down to explore the H.J. Heinz Company, the Carnegie Museums, and so that's how he started really in the tour business. After he had had a fair amount of following and actually even done some trips in school buses to Washington, D.C. for schools in Cochranton, PA, and things of that sort, which were very, very early on in the history of the company. In 48, he decided to buy a motor coach, and it was set up to tour, to go across the country, or just take Teal kids up to Allegheny College to compete in athletics. So whatever it took. Subsequently to that, from that humble beginning, we've grown our motor coach fleet to 43 over-the-road motor coaches, and we operate 180 school buses on a daily basis. So it keeps us busy. It's been I was very blessed to have the opportunity to step into the business. My brother was a predecessor in the business to myself, and my sister and I are still partners here. So we're blessed that one of my sister's sons, who would be actually third generation. I think I misspoke earlier and said I was third generation. It was really third generation.
Right, I got it.
In this area. But he, and then I have my son, Evan, who has joined us just about 4 years ago, too. So I've got two of the third generations working with us, and it's a lot of fun.
That's great. I remember as a kid, my dad took us on a summer bus trip, and we were doing a loop around the U.S. because there was some sort of function for elected officials in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So my dad decides we're going to take 3 weeks on the road. He and I, my brother, the three of us. My mom wouldn't go because we took his pickup truck.
There you go.
And we're somewhere out west, way up in the mountains. We stay in this little hotel, not even a hotel, it was a motel, and go across the street for breakfast. We're coming out, and in pulls an Anderson coach that's doing a tour. I think they were going out to Mount Rushmore or something.
Probably.
And my dad was just flipping out.
Yeah.
Here we are out in the middle of nowhere, thousands of miles away from home, and here comes an Anderson bus. And I just thought that was unbelievably funny, but just that's the presence you guys have around the country. There's probably not a state you haven't been to, right?
Well, we've been to
everything except Hawaii, probably.
Well, every state by land in motor coach, including Alaska, which is a big trip, and I personally have driven it 16 times. But in addition to that, every one of the Canadian provinces and territories. So we've been into the Northwest Territories, clear up into the maritime areas, all over North America. Now, we do not go south of the U.S.-Mexico border just because of insurance reasons.
Oh, it's insurance and not safety or security?
Well, insurance and safety
they go
tie
hand in
together,
hand, right?
yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot of factors.
I should have thought about
that
that question a little more. I might
have
have been able to answer it.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting though when you look at a company with an 84-year history in Mercer County that you've seen a lot of changes in the county over the years. So, I know your family has deep roots here, but it's 2021. You can do this business anywhere. I mean, why Mercer County for you folks?
Well, it's home, and it's where our heritage is. We find the quality of people that we have the opportunity to hire here just superior to a number of the other locations that we've had the opportunity to hire good quality people. We do keep buses stationed in Cleveland, Ohio. At various times, we've had buses in Pittsburgh. Occasionally, we even move them up to Erie. So we're a regional carrier, and that's kind of our regional area that we cover. Since we've been COVID affected, we've pulled all of those park out buses back into our shop, and just not a whole lot going on right now.
And I want to get into that in just a little bit, but you think about now, one of the things we market at Penn-Northwest in terms of our location is the intersection of 79 and 80, but you were here before 79 and 80 was even an intersection in Mercer County. So, but does that, having access to these markets, New York City, Chicago, up into Canada, you can even be in Charlotte at a race in less than 8 hours or about 8 hours by coach. I mean, is that an advantage, do you think, for you folks?
Absolutely. It's a great crossroads for us. We're 400 miles from New York City. We're 400 miles from Chicago. We're 325 miles from New York, or from Washington, D.C., and about 300 miles to Toronto. There's not a whole lot of Canadian travel going on now, not just because of COVID, but really post the 9/11 scare with all of the passport requirements and the security that's there. We've not had the opportunity to open that market up. But again, we're a day's drive from Nashville, Tennessee, a day and a half drive from Branson, Missouri, Asheville, North Carolina, just beautiful areas that we have the opportunity to go to and really explore with our Western Pennsylvania natives as well as Eastern Ohio.
So you talked about your employees and, of course, the economic impact that you've had, you know, just from the job creation standpoint. Let's not use today's numbers because we're going to get into why, you know, the motor coach business is down and how you've been working to fix that nationally with your lobbying efforts and your advocacy efforts. But, you know, just talk about what the employment base in Anderson is, and then we'll talk a little bit on the capital side, how much you've invested in the county.
Well, we have, in total, we have just short of 200 full-time drivers for us right now. And historically, we would have had 12 mechanics that work for us, cleaning department of 12, an office staff upwards of 22, which currently we have 4 of us that are holding down the office. And all the other departments are significantly reduced just because there's not any demand there. So we're being reactive to what the market allows us to do.
So total payroll when you were at, you know, your peak, say prior to COVID, when things were rolling along pretty good, you know, what do you think that, you know, what do you think that number might approach?
It was upwards of $7 million.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Family-owned business.
Family-owned business.
That's fantastic. Let's talk about some of the capital needs of the business. I traveled back and forth to Harrisburg back in the day, and I was going to Columbus and back to Harrisburg with some of my real estate and political stuff I was doing after I was no longer a state rep. And you know, you run into the buses all the time, but you know, when you see an Anderson bus, you know, going down the road, what am I looking at there in terms of the cost of that equipment?
Well, first off, I don't want you to run into one.
Oh, I would never do that. I would be on the bad end of that one.
But a new motor coach, new deluxe motor coach, which we've bought 10 of them in the last 3 years, are $600,000 a piece.
And that's completely macked out with all the electronics and all that stuff.
Yeah, we've got cameras pretty much giving us 360 degree for a safety standpoint, anti-collision devices on a lot of them. So the technology is very state of the art. We're working with the manufacturers right now on new emerging technologies as it relates to state of the art mirrors and things of that sort. So.
Yeah, so let's just talk about that. You're not only, you know, engaged in the business on a day-to-day basis, but you're working with the manufacturers on some of those designs you mentioned. But then let's talk about some of your advocacy for the industry. So there is an association that you're members of, and talk about what they do at the state and federal level to make your business, you know, be viable in this changing environment.
Absolutely. Well, we've been longtime members of the American Bus Association, which is the primary political voice on Capitol Hill on a national level. I'm a past president of the American Bus Association, And
At the national level?
At the national level.
Wow.
In addition to that, there's the United Motor Coach Association, which we're also members of too, which does lobbying and does a lot more maybe hands-on maintenance style programs to educate operators. But the primary lobbying portion of the of the bus industry is the American Bus Association. So they work on the national scene for us. We're also members of, in fact, Ryan's on the board of directors for the Pennsylvania Bus Association, which is known as PBA, and a very influential body within the state of Pennsylvania. And Ryan is also a member of the Pennsylvania School Bus Association, which is also a local Pennsylvania-based organization that allows we as school bus operators to share ideas. Some of the best things that we do, we do some lobbying and things of that sort when we feel threatened by some of the government regulations. But primarily the best thing we do is share best practices, can pick up the phone and talk to somebody that's been down the road that with a mechanical problem or maybe with a student behavior problem that we're able to deal with. Same thing with on the national level. We were, in fact, when I was president of the American Bus Association, seat belts were just getting introduced into commercial buses.
I want to talk to you about, so go ahead and address that on the commercial side and then on the bus side, because on the legislative side in Pennsylvania, that's been a raging debate about seatbelts on buses, but talk about the motor coach industry first and the school buses second.
Well, the motor coach industry got lobbied or got pretty much forced into putting in 3-point belts. Very, very...
Now, the 3-point belt is one that goes over the shoulder.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's has to be pulled tested to very strong NHTSA standards. And it's...
and NHTSA being the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Which is the primary recommending body for progressive safety legislation in the United States. They did a lot of crash tests and watched what was going on. The primary focus that buses have always had, now that this crosses school buses as well as motor coaches, is compartmentalization. You've got high backs in front of you. Generally speaking, they're very soft and pliable, so that in the event of an accident, there is this whole compartmentalization. Now, that does all go upside down, so to speak, when a bus rolls over. Historically, most impacts, buses are very solid, and they usually stay in a vertical position. And even though all motor coaches have seatbelts on them now, the use of them is...
is it optional to the passenger?
It is optional.
Okay.
We recommend that they put them on, but there's nobody to enforce it going up and down the road.
Yeah, you don't travel with a flight attendant on the bus, right?
Attendant on the bus. And nor do school buses, which opens up the other Pandora's box, which is, seat belts on school buses. And again, compartmentalization is really the main thrust of the safety of a school bus. And again, the fact that most of the time they don't lose their wheelbase, but when they do, kids get tossed and jostled around very, very severely, and there are some terrible accidents that have happened. But with seat belts, especially enforcing the use of seat belts, almost means that you need to have a proctor on board the vehicle in order to ensure that kids are actually buckling up. And the fact that that's not a very practical opportunity in a very economically challenged educational world. So it doesn't lend itself to it. I know every couple of years it does come up, and it's been a political hot seat. We do feel that buses are constructed extremely solid. They're very, very durable vehicles, and everything that we see, because there's downfalls to seat belts.
I just don't know how you get people out of
kids.
And I don't know how you get them out of the bus if there's a problem.
Yeah.
You've got to go and unbuckle 30, 40, how many kids on a bus? Maybe 50 to 60?
Yeah, it could be up to 70, 78 actually.
Up to 78 kids,
Yeah.
unbuckling them and getting them unchained from their seat in an emergency is time consuming.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have a lot of time.
And you may only have, one seatbelt cutter on a vehicle, and it's up with the driver, and you hope that the driver's not incapacitated. So there's all types of challenges when it relates to school vehicle seatbelts. The other thing is in a few states have adopted seatbelts on buses. They have found that it truly, kids will be kids, and they'll hit each other with the seatbelts. They'll try to tie each other up with the seatbelts and all kinds of mischievous things that kids do. And especially when they're not in a supervised environment, and literally that school bus driver has to be focused out the front of the bus, looking at the mirrors, and occasionally having the opportunity to look back through what's going on in the school bus world. Now, we do have surveillance cameras on all of our school buses.
I was going to just ask you about the cameras on buses. That's a new revelation in the last 10 years or so, right?
It is, yeah, and it's standard operating procedure. I personally would not operate a school bus if I didn't have video surveillance on board that vehicle.
Has it settled down incidences on school buses, knowing the kids knowing they have? I'm sure there's a sign that says you're on camera. Does that?
It makes sometimes it does. What it does allow is to verify the driver's perspective on a discipline problem, because Johnny, before videotaping, would say, "I'm sorry, I did not do that.
It wasn't me."
Yeah, it wasn't me, or it was somebody else, or whatever it was. But when you can actually have video capture it, and then you take it into the principals and the superintendents, and they've got rock solid information that says, yeah, the driver's perspective is correct. The student was at fault, and they can follow through and call the parents and have them come in. And
that's great.
There's been some great stories that have evolved between parents and children about the videotapes. And no, I didn't do it. Well, you sure you don't want to reconsider that statement, because I'm going to put this TV on it.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
well,
yeah.
And I'm going to focus on the driver and mechanics, because a lot of the stuff we get into at Penn-Northwest is working with our job training partners and making sure that you as a business owner are able to find employees, that you obviously want to do your own training, but what does driver training look like in this day and age, and how are you finding your diesel mechanics and the folks that keep the buses on the road?
Well, we've used the local VOTEC schools for most of our recent tech hiring. Occasionally, we'll get somebody from an outside secondary school, but we've found at the Mercer County Career Institute, as well as the Crawford County Career Institute, are both producing good quality mechanics that we've had the opportunity to employ. Unfortunately,
They're all diesel, right? All the buses are running on diesel right now?
Well, we actually have some gas vehicles
Still?
out there
Okay.
too, but it is primarily diesel. So, yeah, and when it comes to our driver training, we use an LMS system, which is a learning management system that we have developed through another national organization for all of our driver school training. And then we review all of that. So our program's 6 weeks long. For our motor coach operators, we will take qualified individuals. We hire for personality, because you're not driving boxes, you're driving people and individuals, and our customer service is the most important aspect of our business, second only to safety. And then we train people to drive a bus safely. So we hire for the personality, and then we train them to drive a bus safely.
No more 20-year-old kids, though, right?
No, it's not. No. Insurance companies won't allow us to do that anymore.
Right.
But and then in our school bus world, there's basically a state-mandated school bus training program, which involves 20 hours of behind the wheel and classroom training that is highly supervised and highly. We have to have certified instructors on board, as we do with our motor coach drivers. we're also a commercial CDL test site. So I have two people that work that do independent third-party testing for anybody. We have through the years done a lot for Newcastle School of Trades, but we do things for Powell's Grain Company. We do just anybody that needs to have a CDL licensed driver tested. The state does the written part. We do the practical application of them.
Is there a minimum age requirement?
For a CDL license, it's 18.
Okay. And what about to drive a motor coach?
For a motor coach, it's 25.
I thought it might be.
And that's an insurance. Actually, technically and legally, they could operate it at 21. But with a passenger endorsement, and as strict as the insurance regulations are in our business, because obviously they're handling the most precious cargo that we have, which is human lives. So it is a 25-year minimum.
I've always been amazed at the number of women that want to drive a school bus. I find that fascinating.
Well, I think it has to do with the scheduling, the fact that their kids can actually go to school, and they're pretty much in a very similar, starting early in the morning, kids are getting up, going out to get on the school bus. Maybe they're driving their same kids. I think it does take, no matter whether it's a male or a female school bus driver, they need to be a nurturing person. You know, they need to enjoy children. If you don't enjoy children, then you ought to be driving a box truck. So that's probably one of the main reasons why there's primarily, but we have a lot of great retirees that are males that have done this as a second, unlike your father who did it at the beginning of his career. Some people are doing it, after they get to 65, and they're looking for a rewarding way to continue to be in the workforce.
Well, I tell you this pretty much every time we're together. I love to drive, and I love being around people, so I might be one of those ones that go, I think this is my 6th or 7th career. It might be my 7th or 8th.
There you go. Well, we'll look forward to ushering you in.
Yeah, well, we're going to take a break, because when we get back, I want to really dig deep into how COVID has impacted your business, and I want to get into a little bit of your management style. And I ask everyone that we interview what they see in leaders and how they develop them, and where your leadership philosophy came from. So we're going to do that when we come right back.
Is your company looking to expand and grow? Then Mercer County, Pennsylvania is the right place for you. Whether your company is involved in manufacturing, technology, logistics, health, or business services, shale gas exploration, or retail, we can help. Mercer County, Pennsylvania offers low-cost land, valuable infrastructure, a quality labor force, and the right financial tools to make your corporate expansion an affordable reality. Mercer County is only a day's drive to major markets including Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Buffalo, New York City, Chicago, and even southern Canada. Companies like GE Transportation, Joy Cone Company choose to make it in Mercer County, and Penn-Northwest wants to show you how your company can also make it in Mercer County too. Our team of experts will help you expand and save dollars. How does Penn-Northwest do it? How does Penn-Northwest save companies so much money? With a combination of low-interest loans, grants and credits, tax abatements, and even tax-free property. Here's the best part. Penn-Northwest will do most of the work for you. Just click on the button below and get the process started. Or you can first get an idea of how your organization can make it in Mercer County by using the savings estimator located at makeitinmercercounty.com. You'll see that expanding your business in Mercer County, Pennsylvania is the move that makes the most dollars and cents. Call Penn-Northwest Development Corporation at 724-662-3705 for more information.
Welcome back to this edition of Discover Mercer County Business. We're here with the president of Anderson Coach and Travel, Mr. Doug Anderson. I'm your host, Rod Wilt. And Doug, before the break, we talked about really digging into how your business has been, on the motor coach side, almost devastated by COVID-19, but it's a survival story as well. So walk us through that fateful day almost a year ago, March of 2020, when the pandemic was announced, the national state of emergency, Governor Wolf with the state of emergency in Pennsylvania. And take us back to that time and what your life's been like the last 11 months.
Yeah, well, it's been pretty much living a nightmare is how I would, because we never thought that we'd have the downturn in our motor coach business like we've had. Basically, March 13th, schools shut down, and immediately our busiest time of the year because of student travel to Washington, D.C. and New York City, all of those school field trips had the plugs pulled on them. And we thought, geez, this is bad, but we're looking to June, and things are going to bounce back by June. We're going to put this COVID to bed, and June came, and the situation didn't change. And in fact, where we would have done $3 million worth of revenue in our second quarter, we did less than $100,000.
Wow.
So the wheels really did get knocked off the bus. And subsequently to that, we've just been kicking the ball further down the road. We were cautiously optimistic that we were going to have college athletics in the fall, and we had lots of things booked, and we were excited about having that opportunity to not only provide the services for the colleges, but for some of the student trips that had been canceled in the springtime, they got moved to the fall. Well, none of that came to fruition. All of the college athletics.
I just want to stop you because the college athletics, I mean, that's huge. You're moving a football team. That's like moving a small army with all the support staff and everything else. So how big was that business for you in terms of, how many coaches on a Saturday? And I know you've got contracts with some Division I conferences. Talk a little bit about the sports angle too.
Yeah, we do a lot of the D3 schools. Fortunately, we've Teal College have been great to us through the years, but we also serve a lot of the other Westminster, Allegheny, over into Ohio. We do Walsh, we do Mount Union, we do Notre Dame, and down to the Pittsburgh area, we do Duquesne, Robert Morris. We've got a big bid out right now with Pitt, and we've done a lot of stuff with Pitt throughout the years. So regionally, we're the largest motor coach carrier west of Harrisburg.
Oh, wow.
In western Pennsylvania. Now that's independently owned. There's some big companies, some of which have actually ceased operations in this COVID time period and may not even come back. And those are some big national firms that have had strategic strongholds here in western Pennsylvania.
So there may be additional opportunity for Anderson.
There could be.
So how did you and your family rally together, come together as a unit and say, hey, we got to survive this thing? What were those conversations like?
Well, we just had to take a deep look at what we could afford to keep on, and we did. We maintained a lot of our staff for a long period of time, and then when we didn't turn the corner and we had the opportunity to really dig into the numbers and figure out that we had to do something strategically. And again, we thought these were all short-term furloughs or short-term layoffs. And subsequently, they've been turned into nearly 11 months of challenges. And we've had some excellent people that work with us that have gone to other employment. And so we're concerned
That's
about...
like losing a part of your family, right?
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, there is just a small core. We had 2 people that worked remotely initially during the true COVID shutdown period because we were a non-essential business. We had our school bus drivers that were, or managers that were working remotely also. We had my controller and a nephew and my son were the only people that were on the staff.
Wow.
And slowly we had the opportunity to bring mechanics back. And then we did migrate one person into our tour department and one person into our charter department.
So the kids going back to school on the buses, that provide at least not a big thick cushion, but at least a little bit of a cushion for the business.
The school bus business has been a true blessing to us throughout this time period, even though, every day we shuffle the deck a different way, depending on which of the school districts we're dealing with. But I commend our personnel has been just extremely flexible. And, we react to, as much as I am challenged as being a motor coach and school bus owner in today's day and age, to be the superintendent of a school district right now would be a real challenge. And I've expressed that to all of our good superintendents and their staff during this time period, because they're fighting things on the parental front, on the COVID front, on the teacher front, on all of those various
On the athletics
areas.
is just a
Yeah.
But going back to your efforts with the with your interest group, the federal government hasn't been too kind to the industry either with the first round or two of the economic relief packages, correct? I remember talking to you over the summer that on CARES 1, the first CARES Act completely left out in the cold.
As it was with the second CARES Act too. Now, there is a little I should take that back. There is a little carve out for the bus industry, which is called the CERTS Act, which is the COVID economic relief for transportation companies.
Now, is that just designed for the airlines, and you were able to get something out of it, or what?
It's actually designed for passenger rail service, which is a very small niche, excluding Amtrak. Commercial vessels, which would be ferry ships and some of the sightseeing boats that might be in some of the major cities.
But not cruise lines.
Not cruise lines,
Okay.
and over-the-road motor coaches.
So you finally got a little.
As well as school buses too.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's way underfunded. The federal government has not figured out how they're going to dispense the funds, how it's going to be.
So you haven't seen
equitable.
any of that yet?
No, and we probably won't until April or May, is probably where I'm thinking that it'll come out at. So, yeah.
So one of the things I always ask our business leaders that we interview, Doug, is, and you've had to lead under some extraordinarily tough times, but and you've been at this a while too.
Right.
So, how would you describe your leadership philosophy? How is it molded? And what do you think the most important part of being a leader of a significant size company, hundreds of employees, millions and millions of dollars worth of investment? How do you lead an organization like that?
Well, first off, you've got to be really accessible. And, daily I walk around our shop and our facility to talk to the people. Unfortunately, right now, school bus drivers get into their school buses, they do their job, they come back and we sanitize the vehicles, and oftentimes we don't see them because of COVID issues. But, to be actively engaged in every aspect of our business, to know people, to have realistic expectations and hold people accountable for performance on various levels is extremely important. And I just feel that you need to lead by example. You treat people the way you want somebody to treat you, and that's pretty much the way my father ran the business for the first 50 years of the business.
So that's been kind of your touchstone, is watching your dad grow this company from whenever you came on the scene to when he retired and eventually passed away.
I had great leadership on both my mother and my father's side. My mother was really the person that worked in the office day to day and was, I would say, more the brains behind the organization. Yeah. My dad was probably more the brawn behind the organization, and it was very successful for them. Now we've morphed since then. Obviously, we've gone much bigger and better, and we have set different goals and aspirations for our organization. but it's still back to those same fundamentals as treating people the way you want to be, treating, there's only one reason we're in business, and that's for customers. If we don't have the opportunity to serve customers, then, it doesn't matter how pretty your bus is or, how clean your wheels are. You got to have people in those seats and traveling up and down the road.
Those buses are pretty, though.
Well, thank you.
Those buses are really pretty.
And we've done a lot of things to equip our coaches with, to help with the whole COVID. So we've installed a product upstairs, up in the overhead rack, and we're the only motor coach companies that has done it across our entire fleet. It's called Active Pure, which is an ionization process that cleanses the air as the bus is going up and down the road. In addition to that, we have the ability to, overnight when a bus is sitting, to put it into a deep ionization where everything's just locked down, and it basically sanitizes the entire interior of that vehicle. Now, in addition to that, we're constantly wiping. Our drivers are instructed to do that. We spray with electrostatic sprayers, and we also have installed hand sanitizers at the front door of every one of our vehicles. So part of the whole leadership aspect when we came into COVID was, how are we going to make the travel experience that we are going to provide, and we are going to provide it, we just haven't had the opportunity to do many of them yet, as safe as possible.
But even when the pandemic's over, those buses are going to be cleaner and sanitized, and so it's going to be a completely different experience for your customers.
Exactly. We're gearing up for, for coming out of this better and stronger. Even the way we're switching our payroll services, we're switching all types of operational things to be
kind of touchless,
better.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
So the thing that amazes me, and this is just the Anderson way, is
Okay.
that while the business was cratered, you were still investing.
Yeah.
Still investing.
Yep.
Still thinking about the future, still thinking about that customer that's coming when this is over. That's fascinating. But it does lead me to my last question for our program today. And, the Andersons are synonymous with community service. There's probably not a board or a social organization that someone in your family hasn't served on. Where does that come from? I mean, that duty to serve, I think, is just, and you have a nephew that went to the Air Force Academy, so that duty to serve, I mean, is that just something that you're born with? Was it your parents?
It was our parents' leadership, and I've had the opportunity to participate in a lot of things, and we want to give back. It's this region has been very good to our company and our family, and we just look forward to contributing in any way, shape, or form that we can as a family and as a family group.
Well, Doug, you've been a wonderful partner for us at Penn-Northwest Development, and you've been a big supporter, a member for a long, long time. Even though you've never really availed, the company's never really used our financing services or any of our business support services, you must just feel that economic development and the support of the agency is important to the overall business environment. That's got to be it.
It is, in much the same way as we support social and charitable organizations. There's nothing more important than the economic fabric of Mercer County as it relates to our business and retirees that come out of major manufacturing companies that your organization supports. And so for that reason, we have been and we will continue to be strong supporters of Penn-Northwest.
Doug, that's fantastic. You've been such a great partner for our community. It's been a joy over my life to get to know you and your family. And really, thank you for being here. I could go on forever, but we're going to leave it there. And we want to thank you for watching this edition of Discover Mercer County Business. I want to thank, again, Doug, our guest on this program, for making it in Mercer County. We produced this show in the state-of-the-art TV and radio studio here at the James Pettis Communications Center on Teal College's campus in Greenville. We want to thank the students, the faculty, and staff who helped bring this show to life. If you have an idea or suggestion for a future edition of Discover Mercer County Business, please connect with our Improvement Movement team on our website at penn-northwest.com or give us a call at 724-662-3705. And remember, you can also find out more about Penn-Northwest Development Corporation by searching for us on YouTube or connecting with us on LinkedIn or other social media platforms. And as always, we hope that you enjoyed this edition of Discover Mercer County Business. We'll see you again next time.